Welcome to the Nova Hoopcast. We're here at McLean High School, home of the Highlanders. We haven't had a whole lot of basketball this week due to the weather, but we're going to talk about it anyway. We've got great basketball coming up with the postseason just around the corner. But before we do any of that, we had a chance this morning to speak to Mike O'Brien, head coach of McLean. So why don't we go ahead and roll that tape, Buster? Welcome to the Nova Hoopcast. We're here at McLean High School with head coach Mike O'Brien. There really hasn't been much basketball since our last edition due to the cold weather.
The polar vortex.
Polar vortex.
That's what they're called.
But we're still going to talk hoops. So, Coach, let's get started. It's really a three-team race in the Liberty. You guys, W&L, and South Lakes. And I guess any one of the three, could come out of it. Or maybe the other teams in the league. But maybe give us a little bit of the landscape as we head into the end of the regular season.
We have 3 games left for the final week. South Lakes, W&L play each other. We play South Lakes. Everyone's sitting with 2 losses, and anyone can finish first to third. And to be honest, the 4, 5, and 6 seeds, Hernan's beat W&L. Langley's playing much better. So once playoff game comes and it's one and done, you never know how it's going to shake out.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking, but it's certainly exciting from a fan standpoint. We don't have to lose sleep over that stuff anymore.
No, we do not, and I do not miss that one bit.
Right.
One bit, because as a true coach, Mike's saying, "Hey, we don't know. Don't. I'm not committing to anything. Anyone could beat anybody, and that's what you think when you go to bed at night.
Right.
One bad game could finish your season." Talk to us a little bit, Coach, about Matthias Prock. For the people out there that don't know, Matthias, 4-year player here at McLean, just went over the 1,000-point milestone. Somebody we really like a lot. Very heady, great IQ on the floor. What does he mean to you guys, and what's he like as a player to coach?
Matthias, the 4 years obviously has been a focal point for us. He started since his freshman year. His sophomore year, we had 0 wins. Played a lot of sophomores that year. Our development to where we are this year sort of parallels his growth as a player. We lean on him obviously a lot for the scoring end of it. But as you said, he's a very intelligent player on the floor. A lot of times he'll make a call to me to say he wants to run this play, and he's earned the right to for me to trust his judgment on those kind of plays. But his development, his commitment in the offseason to become the player that he's become, like you said, he just passed the 1,000-point mark. It's the 3rd player we've had at the school to do that. And he has a chance to possibly become number 2 all time.
For those people who don't know about your history, you were originally the girls' coach here at McLean. Talk to us a little bit about the adjustments you made going from the girls' side to the boys' side. Is that a big question?
There's a lot of different levels to the changeover. One of them is an adjustment is trying to build relationships with guys. It just seems to be a little harder to get that connection with them early. Part of that might be because on the girls' side, you get a lot of them as freshmen on the varsity immediately, and you got 4 years to build with them. But the in-game, the one thing I do like is the in-game you have to be a little more prepared for role players in the boys' game that might come off as a specialist, and you got to be able to make that change. And a lot more in-game adjustments happen on the fly, and it makes the game a little more exciting for me as a coach. But there are definitely pros and cons to both of them. And after 9 years with the girls and 6 with the boys, I'd still say there's still pros and cons to both. I wouldn't tell anybody that one's better than another. It depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah, not the normal path. Usually you see guys go freshman JV and get a varsity job. I know Tim Lucas, who's the girls' coach at Lake Braddock, coached on the boys' side for a while, so he made the opposite switch, moving from boys to girls. So interesting path to being head coach of the boys program here at McLean.
I will tell you, for every year I did the girls, whether it was Murph or Roller, I did their fall league, I did their summer league. I stayed involved with the boys. I did their camps. I actually worked with the boys individually a little bit.
Right.
Did they reciprocate? Did they work with your girls at all, or was that you just wanting to be a part of the boys program?
Me wanting to be part of it and helping them out, and different ways you help each other out when you're working with the girls and the boys, and that was one of the ways I could help the boys program out.
Coach, I know you guys just won the Rotary Cup, which is the trophy that's awarded to a Langley McLean winner, one of the great rivalries in Northern Virginia. Obviously, I've been a part of that when I was, when I was a coach at Langley. and we were talking before we started, there's a lot of great rivalries in the area, but I think the size of the gym is a big deal when it comes to rivalries. So a rivalry game here or Langley, it's not a huge gym. They turn people away. I think of Herndon South Lakes. I think of Madison Marshall. There's a difference in a rivalry in a small gym as opposed to some of the rivalries in the bigger gyms. Talk a little bit about what that rivalry game is like.
Oh, it's what every student in the building is looking forward to. The week leading up to it, I got to try to get my kids to just focus on the Tuesday game because all the kids in the school are talking about the Langley game on Friday. So there's a big build up to it before it even starts. And then you get to the gym, and it's already packed. So we play a doubleheader with the girls before us, and we've had it to the point that they've closed the doors at halftime of the girls' game. So it's a fantastic environment. Like you said, the smaller gym, there's not a place to stand anywhere. So I think that helps with the atmosphere of it, and for kids to play in that kind of game, a few times a year and maybe multiple times in their career. It's just a memory that they always end up remembering for the rest of their life.
Yeah, really a great environment. Fortunate to have been a part of that, and I know with Kevin coaching at Marshall, Madison Marshall, similar, and there's others around the area as well. So now we move into our hard-hitting journalism part.
That's
Kevin,
right.
a question you always like to ask.
I always ask because for those who don't know, we do this video podcast on Sunday mornings, and we meet around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and I'm always starving by the end of it. So I want to know, where do I eat in McLean after we finish taping? So what are your go-tos as far as food here in the area?
Oh, I'm going to tell you, if it was after a game, I would probably go over to Lost Dog. But if you're going to talk about where you're going to go after this, I would tell you to go to McLean Family Restaurant.
That's right. Been there before. Good breakfasts on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely a good go-to in McLean. All right, Coach, there's 6 teams in the Liberty. I know one of the things that we enjoyed in our coaching career was just the relationships you have with other coaches. So if you guys were playing 3-on-3, we'll pick up basketball with the coaches in the Liberty District, and you had to choose teams, who would your first pick be and why?
Ooh, okay. District coaches, head coaches only?
Let's say head coaches only.
Okay. Since I like to be a little more on the perimeter, I'll take Andrew Duggan and put him inside.
Marshall grad.
Goes with the big boy.
Yeah. Played at Frostburg State, big guy. Good solid pick in the post.
He could definitely patrol the paint. So you want to have free reign on the perimeter. I think I saw you play back in the day at one of the fitness clubs over here in the area. So good. Kevin, any
Well, I want to know who else. He's got one guy. I want to know who your guard is going to be, because I have a guard in mind. Right. Any ideas another pick would be? I'm hurting anyone's feelings, are we?
I'll take Newman.
Newman?
Okay. I'll let him be my spot-up shooter.
You were going to go Bobby Dodson.
I was going to go Bobby Dodson. Bobby Dodson is a great player. Played at Flint Hill. Played at Longwood College. I saw him play several times, and a very good player. But I respect that. Coach Newman, good guy.
Maybe we'll arrange for that game to take place, and that could be a special segment.
You'd have to take a break between each play.
Exactly.
We're not what we used to be, as we say a lot.
Right. So, Mike O'Brien, head coach of McLean. Hey, it's going to be really exciting next week. Every game means so much. I know he'll be watching a lot of video and losing sleep, and we'll be sleeping well and enjoying, watching it. But thanks so much for having us over here today, Mike.
Thank you, Coach, for your time. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Great talking with you.
Okay, good stuff from Mike O'Brien. Again, a 3-team race in the Liberty, and every game means so much. So it's going to be a great week. We'll see how it all plays out heading into the tournament.
And congratulations to McLean. As Coach said, they were winless 2 years ago. Right. So for them to be in the position they're in right now has got to be great for him as a coach and for the kids. And as bystanders who really don't have a stake in any one team, I'm just happy to see people be successful. So I've been on the losing side. I know what it's like to lose that many games and to be in a situation now where you could win the district championship. It's pretty cool for him and his kids, especially the kids who hung around in this day and age to be winless. A great player like Matthias Prock, who knows? There's probably people in his ear telling him maybe he should move on and go somewhere else, but he stayed and he could be winning a state title for his school.
Yeah.
Not state titles. I'm not getting ahead of it. District title. So.
Don't sell them short. Maybe they'll win a state title.
I know.
Hey, and I was going to say, as stressful as it is, and we spoke to Mike about that, this time of year for a coach, you're playing meaningful games, so you got a legitimate chance. So that's all you really want, as a coach for your team this time.
One last comment. I think as a coach, you probably don't take that that praise very well right now because all you're doing is worried about the next game. This is something I think you'll appreciate down the road when you look back on it and see the great season they've had. So good luck to them. Good luck to Coach O'Brien.
Right. So as we mentioned, the weather's played havoc with the schedule this past week, but there were some good games. I know you wanted to highlight a few of them.
Yeah, there were some very good games. We'll start off in the Gunston District where Hayfield took on West Potomac. It was at West Potomac. It was a game that Hayfield was up for much of the game and looking to be in control, but it switched very quickly in the fourth quarter. Final was 54-50 in favor of West Potomac, and some great performances by West Potomac. We mentioned last week that I think they're one of the best teams in North Virginia. They've got a lot of weapons. They have a big 7-footer, Jonas Munson. He had 11 points, 7 rebounds. Daryl Mackey, super exciting guard that they have, will play somewhere in college. Jack Fricka had 13. He's a junior, had a big dunk to put them ahead. And then Shannon Harrigan, kind of an unsung hero for them down low, 8 points, 10 rebounds, does a lot of the dirty work, but had a really, really good game. On the Hayfield side, Michael Jordan doing his thing, 13 points, and then junior Daniel Peterson continuing a good year for himself, 10.7 rebounds. So great matchup. We might see them again in the district title, but I know for everyone there, a very exciting game for everyone there to watch.
Yeah, no doubt. They'll see each other again. I think there's a good chance they'll see each other again. And a great game in that community. I know some guys, as you do that, were at that game. I didn't make it down there, but they said the environment was great. So anytime those two teams get together, the whole community comes out. Now, TC is in the mix there, too. We'll see.
Yeah, we know they have a new coach. I've heard from other people in that district that they're running good stuff. So he's very effective, and he could do it, but we still think the top two teams are there with Hayfield and West Potomac. And I'm going to speak louder because the air conditioner or something just came on.
There's probably heat, hopefully, this time of year.
Heat. So if we change volume here, it's because the heat just came on, which is good because it's freezing in here, as any coach knows on a Sunday morning.
Right.
It's cold in the gym.
Other games this past week.
Well, let's go to a game that you know a lot about, Lake Braddock at Fairfax.
Do we have to go to that game?
Yeah, we have to go. I went to see Lake Braddock, seeing what it's all about. It's funny, I mentioned last week on the podcast, I didn't know how 122 points were scored by a high school team, and funny enough, I get an email from Coach Brian Metris at Lake Braddock explaining how you score 122 points. What a style they run. It's unique in that I don't think anyone's running it right now. Talk to us a little bit about how you prepare for that as being on the coaching staff at Fairfax and what specifically that style is.
Well, that's a good question because I remember back when I was speaking to Coach Metris when he first started doing this, and he said he was looking for a style that you couldn't prepare for. And I think he found it. I mean, you can talk about it a lot, and there's all kinds of points of emphasis in terms of personnel and the types of shots you take and how quickly you shoot, or whether you try to slow them down, whether you're playing man or zone. But you can't simulate what they do in practice. You just can't. And so they're very difficult to prepare. And it's not like you see 3 or 4 other teams that do the same thing. So the only experience you have is when you play them. And so
would you practice with extra kids on the floor? I know they're pressing a lot. Do you play 8-on-5, 7-on-5, that kind of thing?
That's an option, and we've done some things to try to simulate that. But I still think it's different in practice. And I would say this, I don't know that their press in and of itself is necessarily a great press. Well, the word that comes to my mind is relentless. They're just relentless. They never stop, and it's so fast, and it's there all the time, and they can make runs. And as you saw in the game, last night, they made a run at the end of the second quarter, and you
changed
blink.
The game.
Yeah, you blink, and it's like a 19-4
run
at
in
the end of the second quarter. And so you go into the locker room right off of that, and it's a tough thing for kids emotionally to handle.
Because you have to play a different style than you came into the game wanting to play. That 19-4 run really, in my mind, kind of ended everything for you guys, unless you can really shoot well or they really go cold, which of course didn't happen. My first general thoughts on seeing them for the first time and not preparing for them, they're a lot more athletic than I thought. They do have a lot of kids off the bench who do specific roles. Maybe they're shooters, maybe they're rebounders, maybe they play good on defense, but they are very athletic. You've got a 6'5", 6'6" freshman, David Solomon, very athletic down low at the back of your zone press or at the back of your man press, whatever it was. You also have Quint James, who's a Division I football player, kind of patrolling the back of a diamond press, and it was kind of hard for me to tell. I've been out of the game for a while, but that full court stuff they were doing, you always had a great athlete in the back, maybe covering up for mistakes and making you think twice about throwing it long or going right to the basket because they've got the right people in the right places.
Yeah, the Solomon kid is really good. And a couple other thoughts, and then we'll move on to another game. The threes they shoot, I don't even know what their percentage was. I'm not a head coach. I didn't study the stats after the game. But it's just the volume. They have so many possessions, and they take so many more shots than other teams that they don't even have to shoot a great percentage. They just
they didn't early on.
Right.
They didn't. I wouldn't say overall they did, but you're right. There's a lot of volume shooting going on when they play.
Yeah, and the other thing I would mention is early on, you're going to get great shots against them. And we were missing a lot of shots in the paint early on. And I think you would probably agree, 10, 12 minutes into the game, Fairfax was playing very, very well. But even in the midst of that, you could see we were missing a lot of easy looks in the paint. And you're going to get a lot of good shots against them. You probably need to shoot at a very high percentage to have a chance to keep up with their scoring.
Very good point. My last comment on that before we move on is when you beat their pressure, who is going to the basket for you? Is it the right guy?
Right.
Sometimes it's the exact guy who should go into the basket. He finishes. Sometimes it's your third, fourth guy who necessarily should be taking that shot and maybe should bring it back out to get the right shot, but it's tempting. Yeah. You're kind of open. You get an opportunity, but you don't always follow through. And if you do miss or make it, they're going the other way. And if you saw the video that I took last night of the game I put on Twitter and on Instagram, they're going to give you two, but they want a three the other way. But very fun to watch. Congratulations to the Bruins. One of the best teams in our area for sure.
I don't think it was that much fun to watch, but go ahead, Kevin. Move on to the next game.
I agree. As you said, there was a lot of games that were postponed, canceled, move around. One final game I want to highlight is West Springfield, who has been at the bottom of that Patriot District, knocking off Woodson, a team that we've talked about as being very dangerous. So we've said over and over about the Patriot, how good they are. We have the last place team winning a game against, a contender there in Woodson. So congratulations to them. They won 51-45 over Woodson. James Jokum, a younger brother of a very good player that we saw a couple years ago graduate from West Springfield, Lewis Jokum, who's now at VCU.
He's at Radford now.
Oh, he's at Radford, because I think he started somewhere else.
Yeah, he was involved with Duquesne and VCU, and I think he ended up at Radford.
He's having a great season.
Yeah.
But the younger brother, James, had 19 points, football player, looking to play football in college, but hit a three. I talked to the West Springfield coach, Jeremy Marshall, at the Fairfax game last night. He said the kid was a beast. So they're a team to be reckoned with, and again, anyone can win it. And we talked about off camera, we say parity ad nauseum, but it is true. There's a lot of teams who can win it.
Yeah, for West Springfield, Jonka makes a difference, and I think coaches in that league have certainly taken notice that he's back in the mix with them. And Coach Marshall's teams always play hard, too. They're very scrappy, very physical. So, again, they're a team that could make some noise possibly in a district tournament. How about, change gears, let's talk about some big performances. None bigger than Alex Fitch dropping 43 against Tuscarora. Tuscarora is a team that plays fast, maybe not as fast as they played in previous years, not as fast maybe as Lake Braddock, but it's not unusual for guys to score more against Tusky, but 43, catches your attention. I know he's been getting some looks on the Division I level.
He has Campbell, St. Mary's,
Mount St. Mary's,
talking to their coach about him. I saw Alex play up close. I saw him have 38 against Riverside. he can shoot the ball at a Division I level. His release, the quickness in which he releases it, his form, obviously, but that is a skill that he has that you don't see a whole lot of. And at the Division I level, you need a lot of different skills. And if you don't have all the skills at D1 level, you're missing one, then you go D2. And if you're missing a couple, you go D3. But his shooting skill is definitely at Division I level.
Yeah, certainly a great night for him. How about Ian Anderson from Potomac Falls? Just went over his 1,000th point and committed to Christopher Newport. Kevin, I know you have some thoughts.
I do. I thought that was a great choice by Ian. I've watched him play for the last 4 years for Potomac Falls. Great player. Can do a lot of things for him. Hit the 1,000-point mark, which is very cool for him and for the school. But, I know he had some D2 looks and I think an offer or two, but I like him going to CNU. I know he doesn't care what I like, but
I didn't consult with you.
No, but I think he's going to a great academic school that's a good-sized D3 school that's in-state, that has great basketball, where he'll probably have friends there. Instead of going somewhere where he's going to know nobody, he's enjoying the college experience. And I think maybe that's part of why he goes there. But, there's a great player a couple years ago that played at Woodson that we really liked, played in our Nova Challenge, Jason Agner, who did the same thing, who had offers from different schools, but is down at CNU, scored 25 yesterday against Mary Washington, having a great career, and I'm sure loving life. So I think that's a great decision in terms of not worrying about maybe what other people think. Oh, I'm going D2, and going what's good for you.
Yeah, it's not about playing at the highest level you can possibly play at. It's about finding the right fit and the right match. And again, I agree with you. Good for Ian Anderson, and congratulations to him on the 1,000-point milestone and also on his commitment to CNU. On a side note, Potomac Falls, nice win, repping Northern Virginia, 59-58 over Bishop Sullivan in the Mike Scott Classic. And congratulations to them also for clinching the regular season district title. They just keep rolling along.
And I can't help but think of Coach Hawes in the year that they're having, being with his sons, how exciting that is for him. If you haven't seen our earlier interview with him, he's got his junior and his senior sons on the team. And they're undefeated. They just won the district. They went down and won a big game. So we've coached our kids in the past, and we know how excited he probably is.
Yeah, these are memories that'll last a lifetime for them. Kevin, how about some of the matchups coming up this week?
Well, let's go through day by day. The first two games on Monday that I'd like to talk about is South Lakes at WNL. We talked to Coach O'Brien and how that means a lot for that district.
Right.
Then you have SoCo at Fairfax. Fairfax plays on a Saturday night against Lake Braddock, and they turn around. They've got to play. Fortunately, they're playing at home against SoCo, another very good team. So I see those as being two very good games on Monday.
Yeah, no doubt about it. South County defending state champions. They beat Fairfax on a buzzer beater the first time over at SoCo.
Jake Lotta at the buzzer.
Yep, Jake Lotta on a layup at the buzzer. And they lost to Braddock 100-97. So they're certainly a force to be reckoned with. And you're right, tough. I mean, Saturday night against Braddock and Monday night against South County. So that should be a good one.
Moving to Tuesday, you have Rockridge at Potomac Falls. Rockridge, obviously playing well right now with Alex Fitch. We mentioned him. Potomac Falls has clinched the district, but it's important for Rockridge to get as many wins as possible, get a higher seed, and they are playing well, and it should be a fun game to watch in Loudon. We talked with Coach O'Brien about rivalries. One that's big in the Fairfax area is Oakton at Madison.
Right.
Not really big gyms at all. I mean, Madison, big school, Oakton, big school, but small gyms, and that'll be real competitive for one. Coach Roller coming off a good win against Westfield yesterday.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Oakton has some firepower, and Madison gave Centerville their first loss in the district earlier in the week. I was at part of that game and then beat Westfield. So Madison may be peaking at the right time. We'll see.
We mentioned them being very dangerous with Coach Roller for sure. Moving on to other games on Tuesday, we have SoCo, or South County, as they're called, playing at Lake Braddock. So not only does Fairfax have two tough games in a row, South County plays Monday at Fairfax and then Tuesday at Lake Braddock. Tough schedule for them. McLean playing South Lakes again, trying to figure out who's going to be at first in that district. And then a rivalry that's kind of new but big out in Loudoun County, and that's Loudoun Valley at Woodgrove. Loudoun Valley is pretty close to clinching the district there, but Woodgrove's in second and can really possibly change things if they win, but that'll be a big crowd for that group.
So a lot of good games coming up. Any other games jump out at you?
Yeah, Friday, just finishing out the week. You have Osborne at Stonewall Jackson, and Stonewall Jackson beat Osborne at the buzzer not too long ago. Fairfax at Woodson, a very good rivalry there in Fairfax City. TC West Potomac, and then Freedom at Champ, another newer Loudon rivalry. They do have big gyms, and they have to turn people away. I talked to their athletic director, and they make big money on a night like that, almost a $10,000 night. So that's pretty impressive, a new rivalry out in Loudon.
I love that TC West Po matchup, an opportunity for TC to really get right in the mix and make a statement. It'll be a tough game for them, especially playing at the Wolver Dome, but a good matchup there. Hey, before we wrap things up, I got some questions for Kevin.
Is this a segment, or is this just...
I don't know. This might be a segment.
Oh. All right. Well, hopefully I don't screw it up.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Most likely to win a state title: Potomac Falls, Lake Braddock, Potomac, or George Mason?
All right. Well, I'm going to do the Homer, Northern Virginia comment first. I hope they all win a state title.
There you go.
Okay. Because
you're a politician.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to us. We just, like Pot Falls going down to beat Bishop Sullivan, shows the 757 that we can play a little bit. So anytime we can win, I'm all for it. So the hard question, I'd say Potomac Falls right now has a very, very good chance the way they're playing. So I would say probably them, and then maybe Lake Braddock right after that. I know Lake Braddock has 2 losses, one being the Green Run.
Right.
A lot of athletes down there in the beach. So I would probably put it in the order you gave it to me. I would say Potomac Falls, then Lake Braddock. Potomac, I think they're a little young, honestly. I think they're playing well within their district, but I think they're going to have a tough time. And George Mason, undefeated in their conference. I don't know a lot of the rest of the state in that D2 category, but having a very good year and having 2 very good scores. So that's my politically correct response.
Solid answer. And Potomac Falls, obviously, they've got numerous weapons. They've got tradition. They've won a couple of them before.
They've been there before. True.
Yeah. Okay, question number 2 for Kevin. If you were starting a team, like a high school team in this area, would you take a point guard?
Can I recruit? Or because people recruit.
We're in public schools. Public schools don't recruit.
That's right. I forgot.
Okay, so would you start with a point guard, like a wing scorer, or a big man to start your team?
Hands down point guard.
Hands down point guard.
High school basketball, when you get to a certain level, you need a point guard. I had a very good point guard, Daniel Dixon, years ago.
You're still living in the past. Come on, man. How many was that? 20 years ago?
It was like 20 years ago. It's my only frame of reference, okay? And he showed me right away, and we got far that year, and it was about point guard. You had a point guard who made decisions. You couldn't press. That was very important because you're going to see pressure as you get to the next level, especially against athletic teams. But made good decisions, set people up, play defense. Hands down, point guard, high school basketball.
I would have agreed with you, and I might still. I mean, if you asked me that question 5-10 years ago, I would have always said
Living
point
in
guard.
the past, Brian? Living in the past?
A little bit.
Okay.
Because if you don't have one, because you and I have probably both coached teams that didn't have point guards, life is tough when you don't have one. But I guess here's my argument for a big man. Nobody has them anymore.
Yeah,
so
they don't want to play big. They don't want to be a big man.
Yeah, but if you have a Daniel Deaver or Jonas Monson or somebody like that, you have something that nobody else has. Like, would you rather have like a legitimate big man that can score and block shots and rebound,
I know that kids
and a serviceable point guard?
Kids don't want to be a big man.
I know.
Daniel Deaver is an anomaly. People don't want to be big man. They want to shoot out because the college coach needs to see me out on the wing because I'm 6'4".
Right.
I'm telling you, if you got in the post at 6'4", you'd be doing damage. But what you can't argue with AAU coaches and trainers and stuff like that. But I'd agree with you if we weren't in a different time.
Yeah. Well, as a coach, I remember, Kevin, we used to work on like post defense all the time in practice. Like, you never work on that anymore because nobody posts up.
I can't tell you last time I saw a drop step in the post.
Well, so I work with the big guys at Fairfax, and we work on all these post moves.
Is that where they put you with the big guys?
Yes, they send me down on that end with the big guys.
Take the big
I love
fellas.
my big guys. But it's not part of basketball, at least high school basketball these days.
You remember you were like when you were younger, there would be a big kid walking around and he like was involved in the band or something. You're like, oh, you got to coach, you got to get him on the court. He's going to be great. Well, he probably has no skill, and you have to have skill in basketball nowadays. And he probably wants to shoot threes. So that old adage of, oh, there's big guys walking around the school who can play, they don't want to be in the post. It's a shame.
So, yeah, I think point guard's pretty good.
We should put this in the old guy section. It's not Ask Kevin questions. This is Ask the Old Guy questions.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the most important one. I know this is a topic that's near and dear to you. If you just won a championship in Northern Virginia, what restaurant would you go to for your post-game celebration? Since you always ask our guests that. So I'm going to give you some choices. Glory Days, very popular sports bar, restaurant around this area. I'm going to go old school to Thursdays. We used to hang out Thursdays in Fairfax City. Am I living in the past? Yes, I am.
The best part about
Thursdays is not there anymore.
Nobody, if you weren't in Fairfax City, you don't know, but Thursdays was a sports bar where the owner used to sit in the back. And I think he was a bookie. He would sit with the phone, like in
he had a phone,
and he would be making bets or whatever he was doing. And
Johnny, may he rest in peace.
Yeah, and then they opened up the barber shop in the front.
Right.
So that place was iconic. I don't think it's around anymore.
And that was in the before there was a smoking ban in bars and restaurants. So when you went to Thursdays, you immediately had to take all your clothes to the dry cleaner the next day. Okay, Glory Days, Thursdays, Lido's, because I know that there's one near Marshall High School where he used to coach. And I'll mention Anthony's because you used to go there, I think, after games. But I'm probably
until one of my freshman coaches started dating the waitress, and then they broke up, and then we were on a ban.
Then you couldn't go back to Anthony's anymore.
Yeah, we couldn't go back to Anthony's. And I don't think Anthony's is there anymore. It's in the City of Falls Church.
All right. So if you won a championship, where would you be going to celebrate?
First of all, I sound like a big fat guy, because and we have put on weight, but every time we go somewhere, I'm asking, where do we eat? Where do we eat?
Where do you get a good salad?
I'm off my diet. I'm off the wagon. It's cold. It's basketball season. I'd like the Thursdays call, but I would say Anthony's. Kevin Roller, coach at Madison, I would go. Tim Brown, coach at Battlefield. Back in the day, we're talking about Glory Days. But before our freshman coach started dating the waitress, that was hands down our place to go, and always nice. Stayed open late, never rushed us. So if I was lucky to win a district championship, got close. Scotty Reynolds and crew took it from us, but if I won one, I would go to Anthony's at City Falls Church.
All right, sure, outstanding. Yes. A lot of good opportunities out there. Hey, so regular season really next week or this week it'll pretty much wrap up. When we do our next Hoopcast, I think we'll have a clearer understanding of where teams stand. And I know some of the tournament schedules have been changed around due to the weather.
Well, after talking all this parity, I do think my experience is cream rises to the top. So we talk about all these teams kind of lurking in the background. It's like picking teams in the NCAA tournament. You go with chalk most of the time. There will be upsets because there's so many games. But in high school basketball, there's not as much. There really isn't. And cream rises to the top. So I think we will be talking about the same teams for the most part when we talk about district tournament.
But I think the upsets or the threat of upsets are also what makes it so exciting.
Well, that's what keeps people up at night. Yeah. That's your coach. You're like, I'm going to be that guy that lost to the 6th seed, at home. So I do think that's the best part about basketball, but I think we'll be coming back to talk about not only the district tournament, but about the region tournament too.
Right. So tournament time is almost here. We look forward to breaking it down real soon. Thanks again to Mike O'Brien for having us out to McLean High School.
Good luck to the Hustlin' Highlanders.
Yep, good luck to the Hustlin' Highlanders and all the other teams that are battling for seeding in their districts.
We've got to thank Buster. Thanks, Buster. See you guys next time.